Would you be able to share your story? I know you mentioned that you lost 3 people. Would you be able to talk to us about them, what they meant to you, and why this is such a personal matter for you to start the conversation?
Well, my brother Tom died by suicide. In his particular case, he was struggling with mental health disorder, but we didn't know that. We thought he was just acting out. He was 19 years old, and in many ways, he was kind of going on 12. He was really just acting out. He was being disruptive. My older brother, Steve, was particularly disruptive. He was heavy on drugs, and Tom was showing some signs of that. And of course, that was absolutely devastating for our entire family because we were good Catholic kids. We all went to Catholic school. We went to Catholic church. We went to daily mass. We were very involved. And this just threw everyone for a loop. We didn't know what to think of that. And then while I was in the seminary, my sister Therese, who was just a magnificent artist, she too was struggling with mental health. It was a quiet issue. None of us spoke about these issues. And so one day in my junior year in the seminary, again, I had attended the seminary, and my junior year in the seminary, we were all waiting for my sister Therese and her husband to come to a Thanksgiving dinner. And they were the last to arrive, but they didn't. A police officer showed up and told us that Joe, her husband, had died that morning. And the reason why he died was he was supposed to deliver the message to my family that Therese, my sister, had died. And he couldn't get around to that. He died by asphyxiation in his car. And my sister Therese had died the previous day, hanged herself as well in our canyon, just behind our home. So that threw us for a loop. But again, it was very interesting because as a family, we didn't, you just deal with this. And, I'm not sure if it had something to do with the Midwest way my parents had become accustomed to. They came out in San Diego from Iowa. And maybe that was just the culture that you just pick yourself up from the bootstraps and you just move forward. And you don't really talk about this.
So you guys weren't talking about it?
Not really.
And do you think mental health affects 1, 2, 3 families in the community, or does it really affect everyone, or many?
I think it affects everyone, and on a number of levels. One, on that very personal level, if anyone dies by suicide, there's a ripple effect. It hurts parents. People often say to me, "Guy, that must have been horrible for your parents." Indeed it was, and still is. But it was also horrible for us who were siblings. And it was also horrible for even our cousins who were struck by that. It was just an interesting reality. And then it also affects us in the church, even on a theological level, on a very spiritual level. Because there was a day where it was very clear within the life of the church, because it was clear in society, that people who died by suicide did this in a rational way. That somehow they woke up and they discerned that they needed to end their life prematurely, and that was a rational decision. Mm-hmm. And what we discern over the last 30 years, especially with science, with the computer age world, we're able to kind of go under the hood and see that this is really a neurobiological reality.
And why is this mental health ministry, a first here in Arizona, so important?
Well, I think it's important because it really just allows people to have that conversation. They're all of a sudden now open to share. I've been getting countless letters since this moment, since we just had this Mass. In fact, I've been writing thank you letters to the people who shared with me the loss of their own loved one, and how this opened up for them this opportunity to talk, really to communicate. When I was a young boy, I didn't talk about this. I wish I had that opportunity. I wish I could go back and allow this John Dolan to talk about those experiences, so I didn't have to bury that or try to pretend to be something that I wasn't. Because that hit me like a ton of bricks when I became an adult. Communication is everything. It's the beginning of everything, it's the end of everything, right? In the church, we talk about communion. That's communication with God, with each other, and with self. And so communicate.
And you're a leader and a trailblazer in your own right here in the Catholic community and the Catholic faith. What's your hope ultimately? Lives to bring healing, to continue to share your story, to inspire others. What's your hope with this ministry?
The thing is that the Catholic Mental Health Ministry is not an office where we diagnose, we don't prescribe, and we don't treat. We accompany. The Catholic Mental Health Ministry is about loving, not treating. It's about loving. And that's where it begins, and that's where it ends. My hope is, yes, to save lives, right? But also to understand that if lives can't be saved, that we can still communicate and talk and walk with each other.